and welcome back to our YouTube channel. As I promised you that after we complete the current affairs of polity and international relations, we will take up the Indian economy. So today it is going to be the first session regarding the current affairs of Indian economy, and we would discuss the news is the important developments from last 1 year and a half. If I would be precise here, it would be from March 2023 till the present month, till April 2024. I would try to complete all the important articles, all the important developments which had happened during this time. So please stay with me, and if you like this initiative, if you like the way I express myself, if you like the way I'm able to explain it to you guys, so please like this channel, subscribe, and this would be the token of appreciation from your side to me. So without wasting any time, let's come to the topic here. Today we would discuss majorly nine articles in it, and we will discuss what are the important points which we should remember for our exams, and it would be very much precise, to the point, without wasting your time, without giving any unnecessary information. If you would look at this PPT itself, you will find it very much helpful for not even for your prelims but also for your mains perspective. So, without wasting any time, let's start it. Our first article is about the regulations by SEBI, which is Securities and Exchange Board of India. If you would had read about Indian economy, if you would had read any book, any classical or any special book for the UPSC or any exam, you would had gone through this term SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. You would know that it has legislative functions, it has executive functions, it has some judicial functions, and you would also know that it is basically it deals with the stock exchange. If you would have read that chapter in the Indian economy, you would had come to know about this topic. So right here we have to discuss various decisions regarding the regulatory environment of the secondary market, about how SEBI board and the various decisions it took regarding the regulatory environment of the secondary market. About secondary market and primary market, we will know it after a few slides what they are. First, we will discuss a little bit about what SEBI itself is. As here we can see that it was established in 1992 as a statutory body under which act? It is Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992. What are its basic functions? We can see it to protect the interest of investors in securities and to promote the development and to regulate the securities market. So its function is to protect the investors and to regulate the securities market. It registers and regulates working of stock exchanges, depositors, foreign institutional investors, credit rating agencies, venture capital funds, mutual funds, and other security markets. So about this we should know. I would like to repeat it once again. It registers and regulates the working of stock exchange, depositories, foreign institutional investors, credit rating agencies, venture capital funds, mutual funds, and other securities market. And also what it does, it prohibits fraudulent, unfair trade practices and insider trading in securities market. About the nature of the body, it has three functions as I already mentioned, which is rolled in into one body, that is quasi legislative, quasi judicial, and quasi executive. It drafts regulations in its legislative capacity. It conducts investigation and enforcement action in its executive capacity, and it passes rulings and orders in its judicial capacity. So, if we if we would try to recap what we understood from this slide, we should know that about SEBI, about its establishment in 1992, under which act the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act. What are its basic functions? To protect the interests of the investors and to regulate the securities market. And what does it register and regulates? It registers and stock exchange depositors, foreign institutional investors, credit rating agencies, and etc. It prohibits fraudulent, unfair trade practices, and it has three functions rolled into one body, which are quasi judicial, quasi executive, and quasi legislative. So moving forward, about its powers, it has investigative powers. It can undertake inspection, conduct inquiries and audits of stock exchange, mutual funds, intermediaries, and self-regulatory organizations in the securities market. And about its judicial powers, the board has the same power as are vested in civil court under the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. So it enjoys the same powers as are vested in a civil court. Also about its market regulation powers, SEBI can suspend the trading of any security in a recognized stock exchange. It prohibits any person to deal in securities. It can suspend any office bearer of stock exchange or self-regulatory organizations. It can impound and retain the proceeds or securities in respect of any transactions under investigation. It To fulfill its mandate of market regulation and welfare of the investor community, it has initiated a series of reforms. Now let us see what are the reforms under the SEBI which it had initiated. About investor protection and participation. It plays, as we can see from here, that SEBI plays a crucial role in promoting investor protection and ensuring their participation for market development in India. It promotes investor protection and ensures their participation. For it protects investors, it has taken several measures related to financial performance, corporate governance, and others. Reforms by SEBI, we can see it here, application supported by a blocked amount, which is abbreviated as ASBA, like a facility for investors for trading in secondary market. The facility is based on blocking of funds for trading in secondary market through UPI. It will be optional for investors as well as stock brokers. So let me repeat it once again. About application supported by block amount, it's reform one of the reform of the SEBI. Like facility for investors for trading in secondary market, the facility is based on blocking of funds from for trading in secondary market through UPI. So there is blocking of funds for trading in a secondary market through UPI. It will be optional for investors as well as stock borrowers brokers. Also, it helps in fraud prevention amendment to Stockbroker Regulation 1992 to institute a formal mechanism for prevention and detection of fraud or market abuse by stockbroker. It will provide system for surveillance of trading activities and internal controls. Obligations of the stockbroker and its employees. What are they? It would frame out that what are the obligations of stockbrokers and its employees. It would help in escalation and reporting mechanism, and also whistleblower policy. About strengthening grievance redressal mechanism, amendments to regulation to operationalize online dispute resolutions mechanism for investors across registered intermediaries, regulated entities, extended the market infrastructural institution administered conciliation and arbitration mechanism to registered intermediaries, regulated entities, and their investors, clients. So it provides the conciliation mechanism, arbitration mechanism. Also, proceedings can be conducted in hybrid model. Also, we can see from here that streamlined the dispute resolution process and adopted measures to strengthen enforcement of afterwards. Here we can see how it strengthens the grievance redressal mechanism, the complaints from the you know from the intermediaries, the complaints from the market can be heard here from the investors. So this is how it would help them. About strengthening secondary market, we can see SEBI is the regulatory authority to protect the investors interests of the investors in securities and promote development of the secondary market. So the big question is what the secondary market is. Here we can read it from here. The secondary market is where investors buy and sell securities they already own. For example, there is an original issuer. He issues the stocks, then some the investor invests in it, and you know then there is a stock exchange. At the second level we can see it further. Some investor at the stock exchange level further, some investor buys those stocks. That the second exchange and the investor level, we can say that it is the secondary market. So from here we can see that the secondary market is where investor buys and sells securities they already own. Investors exchange with each other rather than with the issuing entity. For example, they exchange it between themselves rather than the issuing entity. For example, I am the company A. I issue the stocks and somebody buys it, and the buyer exchanges it with anybody else, anybody other company. So that is the secondary market. They do this business between themselves, and I'm not involved in it. As a company A who was issuer, I'm not involved in it. That involves the where I am the issuer is not involved, that involves the secondary market. Also, we can see from here that when a company issues stocks or bonds for the first time and sells those securities directly to investors, that transaction occurs on the primary market. So when I am issuing those bonds and somebody buys that transaction is called the primary market. Some common primary market transactions are, we can see, initial public offerings, IPO. We have private placement, rights issues, and etc. If these initial investors later decide to sell their stake in the company, they can do so on the secondary market. For example, I issue my stock to the initial investor, and they want to sell it, they can sell it in the secondary market. So transactions that occur on the secondary market are termed secondary simply because they are one step removed from the transaction that originally created the securities in the question. About the reforms framework for corporate debt market development fund, which is abbreviated as CDMDF, as AIF. SEBI board approved the amendments to SEBI Alternative Investment Fund Regulations 2012 for setting up a corporate debt market development fund as an AIF, which is Alternative Investment Fund. Backstop facility in corporate development market in corporate development market debit market development fund will act this corporate debt market development fund will act as a backstop facility, short-term lending arrangement for purchase of investment grade corporate debt securities during times of stress to instill confidence amongst the participants and to enhance secondary market liquidity. About functions, this corporate debt market development fund based on a guarantee to be provided by National Credit Guarantee Trust Company may raise funds for purchase of corporate debt securities during market dislocation. Also, we can see here timely disclosure to empower stakeholders, amendment to SEBI listing obligation and disclosure requirements, which is abbreviated as LODR, regulations to facilitate more comprehensive and timely disclosure of material events or information by listed entities. Also, we can see here that strengthening corporate governance at listed entities. Also, introduction of concept of general information document and key information document for issuance of bonds, commercial paper was introduced. A general information document shall be filed with the stock exchange at the time of first issuance, while for the subsequent private placements, A key information document shall be filled. Moving forward, we have ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance, abbreviated as environmental, social, and governance. It is a framework used to assess an organization's business practice and performance on various sustainability and ethical issues. What are the reforms in it? Balanced framework for ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance disclosures, ratings, and investing. ESG disclosures, it prescribes a glide path for introducing the BRSR, which is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report Core, beginning with the top 150 listed entities by market capitalization from financial year 2023-24 and gradually extending it to the top 1000 listed entities by financial year 26-27. So we can see it. So also about BRSR core, which is balanced, business responsibility and sustainability report, will contain a limited set of key performance indicators for which listed entities shall need to obtain reasonable assurance. About ESG, we can see here about how does it impact, for example, in environment, how a company performs as a steward of the natural or physical environment, minimizing the impact on the environment. About social, how a company interacts with its workforce, the societies in which it operates, and the political environment. And in governance, how a company makes their decisions, reports, and ensures ethical behavior. About ESG ratings, providers shall be required to consider India emerging market parameters in ESG ratings. In order to facilitate the credibility of ESG ratings, ERP shall offer a separate category of ESG ratings called as core ESG rating based on the assured parameters under BRSR code. Also, ESG investing. These measures shall be introduced in order to address the risk of mis-selling and greenwashing, to enhance stewardship reporting requirements, and to promote ESG investing. About mis-selling, it is a sales practice in which a product or service is deliberately or recklessly misrepresented, or a consumer or a customer is misled about its suitability for the purpose of making a sale. And about greenwashing, it is the process of conveying a false impression or a misleading information about how a company's products are environmentally sound. Then we have regulatory framework for ERPs in securities market by introducing a new chapter in the SEBI, which is Credit Rating Agencies Regulations 1999. Then we have to discuss about the regulatory framework for index providers. Here we can see SEBI had stressed the need for greater oversight on currently unregulated index providers like NSE Indices and the Asia Index Limited Private Limited, citing their growing dominance due to the proliferation of index fund. What are the reforms regarding it? Introduction of regulatory framework for index providers. In December 2022, SEBI had mooted a draft regulatory framework for index providers whose provisions included registration. The index providers offering indices for use in India will be required to register with SEBI. Then we have oversight. The index provider will have to constitute an oversight committee for reviewing existing index design and benchmark methodology. Then we have protecting independence. The index provider must have policies and procedures to manage conflicts of interest and to protect the integrity and independence of various functions performed in connection with determination of indices. Then we have adherence to the international principles. The index providers must be assessed by independent external auditors to evaluate adherence to International Organization of Securities Commission's principles once in 2 years. Moving forward, we have the next topic, which is about the direct benefit transfer. This one, it was launched in 2013. This is one of the best initiatives of the government. So let us discuss about it. Let us see how does it help the Indian people, how does it benefit the Indian people. Here we can see from the slide that India saved over 27 billion in key central government schemes through direct benefit transfer. So what does how does it work? That in simple words we can say that the in the earlier times what used to happen, there used to be a broker who would that broker would pay to the employer or the person who would get benefit of the scheme. But here what happens, the money is directly transferred to their bank accounts. About direct benefit transfer, it was launched in 2013 to transfer government benefits directly into the citizens' Aadhaar seeded bank accounts for targeted delivery of the benefits. About uh, further direct benefit transfer, it has expanded from a mere 24 schemes as part of a pilot program in 43 districts in 2013. It was uh, first held in only 43 districts in 24 schemes only, to over now to over 300 central schemes and greater than 2000 state schemes across India by December 2022. Almost it has covered every scheme under it. Then we should know that Aadhaar is not mandatory in direct benefit transfer schemes. You should know one thing, that when this PPT was made, as I earlier told you that I had started this whole discussion about current affairs from the month of March 2023. So there would be further, some modifications in the news when the time moves. So please don't bother if any information is not fully given here, because this would be a kind of it. It is a kind of series of 12 classes in which I would take up every detail about these topics, everything which was important, which came in later days, would be discussed. So coming back to the topic, as we were here, that Aadhaar is not mandatory in these in direct benefit transfer schemes, since Aadhaar provides unique identity and is useful in targeting the intended beneficiaries. It is preferred and beneficiaries are encouraged to have Aadhaar. Then implementation DBT mission was created in the Planning Commission to act as the nodal point for the implementation of the DBT programs. The mission was transferred to the Department of Expenditure in 2013 and continued to function till 2015. It was transferred to Department of Expenditure. To give more impetus, DBT mission and matters related to it has been replaced in Cabinet Secretariat under Secretary Coordinated Coordination and PG from 2015. What are the objectives of the direct benefit transfer? We can see curbing pilferage and duplication, accurate targeting of the beneficiary, reduced delay in payments, and electronic transfer of the benefits, minimizing levels involved in benefit flow. What are the categories of schemes covered under DBT? We have cash transfer and kind transfer. In cash transfer, the transfer of cash benefits from ministry department to beneficiaries happens through different routes. Direct transfer to beneficiaries through state treasury account to beneficiaries through implementing agency, for example, PAHAL, Manrega, and SAP, etc. About kind transfer, benefit in kind are given by the government to individuals through an intermediate agency. Individual beneficiaries receive these goods or services for free or at subsidized rates. For example, midday meals, PDS, subsidy on fertilizers, and etc. What is the significance of DBT? Here we can see efficient transfer of government benefit by using DBT. The intended benefit is directly transferred to the account of the beneficiaries, cutting down the middle administrative lawyer that were delaying the process of transfer. It increases the transparency and the accountability. With DBT in place, the intended amount for the welfare scheme and its movement can be tracked to and forth, thereby providing more accountability. It reduces the ghost beneficiaries. The Aadhaar integrated transfer mechanism with biometric authentication helps to remove the ghost beneficiaries existing in the system, as multiple or fake entries can easily be mapped. Then also reduces corruption. The direct benefit transfer helps in reducing the interaction between the beneficiary and officials, thereby reducing the possibility of bribe and corruption. Also aids digital economy and financial inclusion. The DBT comes with the prerequisite of a preferably Aadhaar-linked savings account, and this brings the beneficiary into formal economy and introduces him her to the banking system. What are the key enablers for successful implementation of DBT in India? Here we have JAM Trinity, which is Jandan Aadhaar, and mobiles, which is abbreviated as GEM Trinity, to enable a leakage-proof and targeted transfer of benefits. Then we have business correspondence infrastructure (BCs) as an alternative to brick and mortar banks for infrastructure. For example, we can say like Paytms, etc. Then we have payment banks. Its main objective is to widen the spread of payment and financial services to small business, low-income households, migrant labor workforce, uh, in secure technology-driven environment across the country. We have mobile money. It is a fast-moving way of payment in the country and helpful in providing solution to last mile issue for better accessibility of direct benefit transfer. Now, moving forward to the third important article of today's discussion, it is about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. This scheme was launched for the purpose of providing housing for the poor people. So let us discuss about it. Here we can see that Parliamentary Standing Committee on Housing and Urban Affairs, they submitted report on evaluation of implementation of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. About Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, its objective, it is a flagship mission launched in it was launched in 2015 with objective its objective was housing for all. The mission addresses urban housing shortage among the economically weaker sections, lower income groups and middle income group categories, including the slum dwellers. It adopts a demand-driven approach wherein the housing shortage is decided based on demand assessment by states and UTs. About its implementation, we should know that it is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. About coverage, entire urban area consisting of statutory towns, notified planning areas, development authorities, special area development authorities, industrial development authorities, or any such authority under state legislation which is entrusted with the functioning of urban planning and regulation. About the timeline, the duration of the mission was initially 7 years from financial year 2015 16 to financial year 21-22. And now we can also see that it has been extended up to 31st December 2024 with all vertical except credit linked subsidy scheme vertical to complete houses sanctioned up to 31st March 2022. About uh, P, PMAU Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme, Awas Yojana Urban, it is being implemented through the following four verticals. What are these? It is in situ slum redevelopment, which is abbreviated as ISR. In this, slum rehabilitation of slum dwellers with participation of private developers using land as a resource, assistance to eligible families belonging to economically weaker section categories, and also demand side intervention, which is centrally sponsored scheme. Then we have credit linked subsidy scheme. In it, promotion of affordable housing through credit linked subsidy assistance to eligible beneficiaries of economically weaker sections, and uh, MIG on home loans from banks. Then here we can see demand side intervention is there, and it is also center sector scheme. About ISR, it is centrally sponsored scheme, and CLSS, it is Central Sector Scheme. Then we have Affordable Housing in Partnership, which is abbreviated AHF. Afforder, Affordable Housing in Partnership with Public and Private Sectors. Assistance to eligible families belonging to EWS categories who do not have land. Supply side intervention. It is also centrally sponsored scheme. Then we have beneficiary-led construction subsidy for beneficiary-led individual house construction enhancement. It is assistance to eligible families belonging to EWS categories. It is also demand-side intervention, and it is centrally sponsored scheme. So in here we can see that only credit-linked subsidy scheme is the central sector scheme. Other three are, for example, which are ISSR, AHP, or BLC. They are centrally sponsored scheme, and this is the information. I think you should take the snap of it and try to remember the important points which are highlighted here. Then we have, let us critically observe. Let us discuss about the critical observation of committee of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. Here, what they discuss is that there is gap in housing demand assessment. Actual demand for housing under the scheme stands at 1.23 crore, and not the estimated is 2 crore. Lack of basic amenities as of December 2022, 5.6 lakh houses were not delivered to beneficiaries due to lack of basic services. Then we can see here timeline for grounding and completion. Only 87% sanctioned houses have been grounded till December 2022, and 61 lakh houses have been delivered to beneficiaries. As of October 2022, less than 50% of houses have been completed in northeastern states except Tripura due to geographical and economical reasons. Then we can see high cost burden on beneficiaries. Some states such as Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya and Rajasthan are not providing their share. As a result, the average beneficiary contribution come about to 60%. Then we can see there is emphasis on BLC. Majority of the urban homeless are also landless, and purchasing land in an urban area is more challenging than constructing a house on it. Therefore, the overemphasis on BLC vertical dilutes the objective of the scheme. Then we have low sanctioning of houses under ISSR vertical. The number of houses sanctioned under it is low against a demand of 14.35 lakh houses only, which is 30% were sanctioned. Moving forward, we have smart cities mission. It is the fourth topic of today's discussion. It is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. They informed that 86% of the funds have been utilized and 69% of projects completed under smart cities mission. About it, Smart City Mission, it is a centrally sponsored scheme launched in 2015 under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. The main objective of the mission is to promote cities that provide core infrastructure, clean and sustainable environment, and give a decent quality of life to their citizens through the application of smart solutions. 100 cities have been selected to be developed as smart cities. And this mission comprises of three models. First is city improvement, then city renewal, then city extension. The special purpose vehicle is created by each city to implement the smart city mission at the city level. The special purpose vehicle will be a limited company incorporated under the Companies Act 2013 at the city level, in which the state's UT and the ULB will be the promoters having 50-50 equity shareholding. Also, we can see from here that the private sector or financial institutions could be considered for taking equity stake in the special purpose vehicle, provided the shareholding pattern of 50-50, 50 is to 50 of the state duty and the ULB is maintained, and the state duty and the ULB together have majority shareholding and control of the special purpose vehicle. There are six fundamental principles which are community at the core of planning and implementation. Then we have integration, innovation, sustainability. We have more for less, able to generate greater outcomes with the use of less resources. Then we have technology as means, not the goal, careful selection of technology relevant to the context of the cities. Then we have corporative and competitive federalism, cities selected through competition flexibility to implement projects. Then we have convergence in sectorial and financial convergence. What is the need for the smart cities in India? If we know about the water access and its adequacy, dependency, mostly dependent on rain, distribution losses, then also about power and energy, reliance on hydrocarbons, access to 24/7 electricity, distribution losses, about waste and sanitation, then which is open defecation and manual scavenging, lack of waste segregation, low collection efficiency. Then we have mobility, inadequacy of public transport, increased reliance on private transport, congestion. We have environment built affordability of houses, informal dwelling, urban sprawl. Then in education we have enrollment and retention, quality of education and skill gap, infrastructure and funding for research. Then we have healthcare availability, affordability, little focus on preventive health wellness. Then in governance we have institutional capacity, limited autonomy and lack of financial independence. Now we have our fourth or fifth, I forgot the number, but the important thing is the topic. It is e-commerce promotion and regulation. About it we can see from here that the parliamentary standing committee on commerce, they had submitted its report on promotion and regulation of e-commerce in India. The Consumer Protection Act 2019 defines the term as buying or selling. About e-commerce, the Consumer Protection Act 2019, it defined the term as buying or selling of goods or services including digital products over digital or electronic networks. E-commerce platforms have two types of business models. We can see marketplace model. Platform operators facilitate transactions between buyers and sellers and can fulfill the orders by handling logistics, deliveries and returns, for example Amazon and Flipkart. Then we have inventory model, allows online retailers to buy inventory and directly sell to consumers through their own platform, for example Big Basket. About advantages of e-commerce, we have lower setup costs as there is no need of physical store. We have access to multiple new marketplaces across the globe. We can acquire a new set of consumers without any middleman. We have easy and cost-effective marketing with the digital marketing tools, and also ease of delivery as logistics service like packaging, storage, or hassle-free. What are the laws governing e-commerce in India? We have consumer protection e-commerce rules, we have foreign direct investment policy, and we other legal mandates. About consumer protection e-commerce rules, we should remember that the rules are issued under the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It prohibits e-commerce entities from adopting any unfair trade practice, manipulating the price, etc. It applies to e-commerce entities but not to a person. Rules have extraterritorial application, mandates e-commerce entities to establish an adequate grievance redressal mechanism and to appoint a nodal person of contact who is resident in India to ensure compliance and the act or the rules. In foreign direct investment policy 2020, FDI-backed e-commerce entities can engage only in business-to-business e-commerce and not to business-to-consumer. In foreign direct investment, it can only engage business-to-business, not to business-to commerce. 100% FDI under the automatic route for marketplace-based model of e-commerce. Then FDI is not permitted in the inventory-based model, and also an e-commerce entity providing a marketplace is not allowed to exercise ownership or control over the inventory purported to be sold. What are the other mandates? Here we have Information Technology Act 2000, IT Act. Under it, Information Technology Rules 2021 amended to 20. 2023 require intermediaries to publish their rules and regulations, privacy policy, and user agreement. Competition Act 2002 provides for preventing practices that have an adverse effect on competition or are related to abuse of dominant position. Then we have Legal Metrology Act 2009. Any e-commerce entity must comply with and meet the standards related to labeling and packaging. What they label the uh, you know the entity which is labeled under, when it is labeled and packaged, it should meet the standard what is said on the packaging. Then we have e-commerce exports. The recent Global Trade Research Institute released a report on releasing India's e-commerce export potential. Its key highlights global uh, business to commerce e-commerce exports are predicted to increase from 800 billion to 8 trillion by 2030. India must plan to export 350 billion or about one third of its total goods through e-commerce by 2030. What are the key recommendations? Create separate customs codes for e-commerce shipments, focus on developing market intelligence, organizing training for artisans, launch the India Quality Product label for strict quality control and to prevent counterfeit products. Provisions for e-commerce export in Foreign Trade Policy 2023. Facilitation for e-commerce exports. All FTP benefits to be extended to e-commerce exports. The consignment-wise cap on e-commerce exports through courier has been raised from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. Then we have Ghar Niryat Kendras. It shall be operationalized in a hub and spoke model and foreign post offices to facilitate cross-border e-commerce. It will also enable artisans, weavers, craftsmen, MSMEs in the hinterland and landlocked regions to reach international markets. Then we have e-commerce export hubs, designated hubs with warehousing facility to be notified to help e-commerce aggregators for easy stocking, customs clearance, and returns uh, processing facility to be allowed for last mile activities such as labeling, testing, packaging, and others. What are the key initiatives to promote e-commerce in India? We have government e-marketplace platform, website for public procurement, as Umang Startup India portal, Bharat interface for money, etc. To boost digitalization. Then we have open network for digital commerce to set protocols for cataloging, vendor discovery, and price discovery. We have rolling out fiber network for rolling out fiber network for 5G will help boost e-commerce in India. Moving forward, we have now e-pharmacy. Recently, a show cause notice was issued by Central Drugs Standards Control Organization to all e-pharmacy companies, highlighting concerns on the legitimacy of their operations. Notice was issued by whom? Central Drugs Standards Control Organization. About Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, it is a statutory body constituted under Section 7 of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. In this Central Drugs Standard Control Organization is the central drug authority for discharging functions assigned to the central government under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. About ministry, it works under the Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. What are the major functions? Regulatory control over the import of drugs, approval of new drugs and clinical trials, meeting of drugs consultative committee and drugs technical advisory board, and approval of certain licenses as central license approving authority. Here we can see a parliamentary panel has now asked the Ministry of Health to finalize the draft e-commerce rules and implement them without any further delay. About draft e-pharmacy rules 2018, e-pharmacy definition, it means business of distribution or sale, stock, exhibit or offer for sale of drugs through web portal or any other electronic mode. Uh, Privacy information generated through e-pharmacy portal should not be disclosed. About registration, e-pharmacy will need grant of registration to the central licensing authority. About adherence to Act, an e-pharmacy registration holder shall comply with the provisions of Information Technology Act 2000. About inspection, the premises from where the e-pharmacy business is conducted shall be inspected every 2 years. And about advertisement, no e-pharmacy shall advertise any drug on radio or television or internet or print or any other media for any purposes. So they are not allowed to advertise at all. Now, moving forward to the e-pharmacy sector in India, it is a rapidly growing industry. The online pharmacy market in India has been growing rapidly, uh, and the pandemic conditions acted as a catalyst for it. Then we can see part of a large pharmaceutical landscape. India is the world's largest supplier of generic medications, accounting for 20% of the worldwide supply by volume and supplying about 60% of the global vaccination demand. What are the existing e-pharmacy model? We have inventory-based model of e-pharmacy. We have generic e-commerce marketplace, and we have marketplace-based model of e-pharmacy. About inventory-based model of e-pharmacy, here we can see that e-pharmacy holds the stock of medicinal drugs stored in warehouse fulfillment centers across geographical locations. Registered pharmacists deliver them to customers, for example, MedLife and NetMeds. In a generic e-commerce marketplace, these are digital establishments that supply a wide range of products, including pharmaceuticals. Examples of this marketplace are Amazon and Flipkart. Then we have marketplace-based model of e-pharmacy. Technology companies act as facilitator between a buyer and a seller. In this model, the e-pharmacy plays the role of an aggregator, for example, Tata 1mg. Here we can see these models. Now moving to the next topic, it is about primary agricultural credit societies. Here we can see that the cabinet cleared a plan for setting up 2 lakh primary agricultural credit societies, dairy and fisheries cooperatives in country in the next few years. The plan is aimed at strengthening cooperative movement in the country and deepening its reach up to the grassroots. It will establish primary agricultural credit societies and viable dairy cooperatives in each uncovered panchayat village and viable fishery cooperatives in each coastal panchayat village as well as panchayat village having large water bodies. These primary agricultural credit societies, dairy or fishery cooperative societies would be linked with their respective district and state level federation. By leveraging the whole of government approach, these societies will be able to set up and modernize necessary infrastructure for diversifying their activities like milk testing laboratories, bulk milk coolers, construction of biofloc ponds, fish kiosks, etc. What is the cabinet plan for PACs, dairy and fisheries? Let us discuss about it. Cabinet plan for PACs, dairy and fisheries. We can see action plan shall be prepared by National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, which is NABARD, National Dairy Development Board, and National Fishery Development Board. And about high-level interministerial committee, it will be empowered to take necessary steps to the plan, headed by currently Minister of Home and Corporation, then ministers for Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Fishery, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Then we have secretaries concerned, chairman of NABARD, NDDB, which is National Dairy Development Board, and chief executive of NFDB, which is National Fishery Development Board. Then four schemes covered under this plan, which is Department of Animal Husbandry, and under Development of Animal Husbandry and Dairy, we have National Program for Dairy Development and Dairy Processing and Infrastructural Development Fund. Then we have Department of Fisheries, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana and Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructural Development (FIDF). About PACS, we can know PACS. It constitutes the lower tier of the short-term cooperative credit structure in the country. About its regulation, they are outside the purview of the Banking Regulation Act 1949 and are not regulated by the RBI. However, SCBs, DCCBs are regulated under the provisions of State Cooperative Societies Act of the state concerned and are regulated by the RBI. They are refinanced by NABARD through DCCBs and SCBs. Its functions, other than short-term credit, they can also provide other input services like feed, seeds, fertilizer, pesticide distribution to member farmers. About the significance, they ensure financial inclusion of the most vulnerable rural population. PACs account for 41% of the KCC loans given by all entities in the country, and 95% of these KCC loans are to the small and marginal farmers. These are cooperative agricultural credit structure. We have short-term credit, three-tier system. Then we have state. Here we have long-term credit. In short-term credit, we have state central cooperative banks. Here we have state central cooperative agricultural rural. In a long-term credit, we have two-tier system, and in short-term credit, we have three-tier system. First, let us see the short-term credit. It has state central cooperative bank, we have district central cooperative bank, and we have primary agricultural credit society, which is PACs. And in the long term credit, we have two tier system, which is state central cooperative agricultural rural development bank, and then we have primary cooperative agricultural rural development bank. What are the key initiatives to make PACs viable? The National Cooperative Development Corporation, which is NCDC, helps in planning and promoting programs for agricultural produce. Then we have computerization of PACs to increase this efficiency, transparency, and accountability in their operation. Then we have model bylaws of PACs to enable them to undertake more than 25 business activities such as dairy, fisheries, and etc. Enables PACs to provide services offered by common service centers. About dairy and fishery cooperatives, most of the people engage in dairy and fisheries for their livelihood or small marginal and landless farmers. Special sector specific contribution in dairy, India is the largest producer of milk in the world, contributing 24% of global milk production. About 9 crore rural families are directly connected to the dairy industry in India. Also, India has a target production capacity of 330 million metric tons by 2033 to 34. In fisheries, India stands third in the world in terms of fish production, contribution 8% to the global fish production. Primary fish cooperative societies have around 38 lakh members, and also India has a target to increase fish production to 22 million metric tons by 24-25. Here we can see the significance of fisheries and dairy cooperatives. It helps in augment the production and marketing, enhancing bargaining power, eliminating intermediaries, etc. Support to farmers, provides women with a dependable and often sizable regular cash income, and provides surplus for the export. Here we have key initiatives for dairy and fisheries. In dairy, we have uh, National Cooperative Development Corporation, which provides assistance to cooperatives for production, processing, storage, and marketing. We have Kisan Credit Card also available for fisheries. Then we have National Dairy Development Board, uh, created in 1965 to support the creation of the Anand pattern of dairy cooperative through the Operation Flood program. Then in fisheries, we have National Federation of Fisheries Cooperative Limited works elude, to educate, guide, and assist fisheries. Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana to bring about value revolution by development of fisheries, and we have integrated development and management of fisheries scheme. Now we have price of tops, which is by tops we understand tomatoes, onion, and potatoes. As we know that the Kharif onion crop prices have seen sharp decline due to surplus production. Tomatoes, onion, and potatoes, the popularly known as top vegetables, are the three largest cultivated, produced, and consumed vegetables in India. Also, India is the second largest producer of all three vegetables in the world after China. However, we can see prices of these commodities have seen many fluctuations in agriculture commodities among all crops for multiple reasons. What are the reasons for volatility in price of tops? We have production challenges. For example, seasonality, harvest season puts downward pressure on the price, whereas the sowing season puts upward pressure on the price for top. For instance, seasonal components tend to put on an upward pressure on prices of tomatoes during July to November every year, with the pressure remaining highest in July. Then we have erratic weather, irregular weather shocks like hailstorm, heat waves, heavy rainfall, etc. are one of the biggest factors contributing to the cost variation. Then we have poor extension service, gaps in extension service such as technical advice to farmers partly accounts for the uneven quality of produce and the abnormally high post-harvest losses. Then we have storage and processing. Inadequate storage facilities. India currently has cold storage facilities with a combined capacity of around 375 lakh metric ton, which is far below the requirement. Disparity in storage facilities. Around 60% of the capacity of the cold storage is concentrated in the states of UP, West Bengal, and Bihar. Also, potatoes account for close to 70% of the overall cold storage capacity. We have suboptimal processing. At present, farmers don't have access to adequate processing facilities, hence they have to face downward price pressure during bumper yield. Then we have administrative issue, ineffective implementation of schemes. Allocation to Operation Greens was very less, yet not even a third of the money allocated for the scheme has been spent so far. Then we have institutional credit. Most of the top growing farmers are small farmers, hence they are unlikely to access institutional credit for their cultivation. Here are few key conditions of growth of tops. About onion, what is the ideal temperature required? Tomato, it is 21 to 24 degrees centigrade and bright sunshine at the time of fruit set. About onion, it needs 13 to 25-degree temperature, and about potato, it needs 20 to 24 degrees centigrade. Ideal rainfall for tomato, it is 600 millimeter to 1500 millimeter. For onion, it is 650 to 750 millimeter, and for potato, it is 1200 to 2000 millimeter per annum. Season, we have sowing season is May to June, and harvesting season is November to December for tomato. For onion, it is April, May, and October, November, and for potato, it is Jan, Feb for hilly areas, and for plains, it is October, November. The soil which is needed for the tomato, we have well drained loamy soil rich in organic matter with pH range of 6.5 to 7.5, very neutral. For onion, deep friable loam and alluvial soil with pH range of 6 to 7. For potato, we need acidic soil. Any type of soil except saline and alkaline soil, the pH range is 4.8 to 5.4. Who are the leading producers of tomato? Here we have Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Karnataka. For onion, we have Maharashtra, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, and for potato, we have Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh. What are the initiatives taken for the stability in price of tops? We have Operation Green. It was launched on the lines of Operation Flood to address price volatility of tops, and it was extended to all fruits and vegetables in 2020. Then we have Gramin agricultural markets, grams, rural huts, village markets are being developed into Gramin agricultural markets for farmers to directly sell their produce. Then we have mission for integrated development of horticulture for holistic development of horticulture and low cost onion storage structure. We have agricultural marketing infrastructure AMI for rural godowns. It enables small farmers to enhance their holding capacity to sell their produce at remunerative prices and avoid distress sale. Then we have price stabilization fund provides interest-free advance of working capital to central agencies, state duty government agencies, it to undertake market intervention operations to regulate the price volatility of important agri-horticultural commodities like onion, potatoes, and pulses. Now, moving to the last topic of today's discussion, it is about the vehicles scrappage. The center here we can see that a center has earmarked 3,000 crore for scrapping old vehicles as incentives to states under the scheme for special assistance to states for capacity investment in fiscal year 2023-24. About vehicle scrappage, we can see that vehicle scrappage outlines the elimination of end-of-life vehicle. Its objective is threefold: reduction in road emissions, transition to better emission standard vehicles, and close monitoring of the in-use vehicle fleet. About vehicle scrappage policy landscape in India, automotive industry standards 1 to 9 AIS 129 2016 it places requirements for the collection and dismantling centers and vehicle manufacturers to comply with the reusability, recyclability, and recoverability calculations. It seeks to restrict the usage of heavy metals in manufacturing and provides dismantling information to authorized collection and dismantling centers, guidance for environmentally sound facilities for handling, processing, and recycling for ELV 2019. It mentions procedures for removal of common hazardous substances, environmentally sound dismantling, and processing of residues of ELVs. Moving forward, we have Voluntary Vehicle Fleet Modernization Program or Vehicle Scrappage Policy 2021. It was launched by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to encourage the scrapping of old vehicles. Under this scheme, private vehicles older than 20 years and commercial vehicles older than 15 years will need to undergo mandatory fitness tests. Such vehicles will be scrapped if they fail the test. Then we have Motor Vehicles Registration and Functions of Vehicle Scrappage Policy Rules 2021. It explicits the eligibility, registration process, and procedures to be followed for setting up their recognized vehicle scrappage facility. Then we have Motor Vehicle Registration and Functioning of Vehicle Scrappage Facility Rules 2021. It explicits the eligibility, registration process, and procedure to be followed for setting up the recognition vehicle scrappage facility, which we already, I guess, this paragraph has been I had added it twice. Then we have Central Motor Vehicle Amendment Rules 23rd Amendment incorporated an upward revision of registration, fitness testing, and fitness certification fee for vehicles. Then recently, the government extended the deadline for the mandatory fitness testing through a registered automated testing station for heavy goods and passenger motor vehicles to October 1, 2024 from April 1, 2023. So, with this, I conclude my today's lecture. I hope this information is enough for you for the first class, which we discussed about Indian economy. You know, maybe I was not able to deliver the information properly, but you can see the PPT here. You can see the information here. Please do go through it, read it. You know, it is very important. There may be many points which may come in your exams. And if you have doubts, please ask me in the questions. I am here to answer you. And rest. Thank you very much for staying with me. Please do subscribe to this channel because your subscription motivates me more to work hard and to deliver it in better ways. Thank you very much. Thanks for staying with me. Sorry, as usual, I forget there are few more slides. Then we have recognition, regulation, and control of automated testing stations rules, which is ATS, authorized by the state governments. Conduct vehicle fitness tests through ATS. Then we have the vehicle that fails any or all of the required tests can apply for retest within 30 days of the result after rectification of the defect specified in the initial inspection. If any vehicle fails these tests, they can take up 1 month to rectify that problem. Then we have an appeal within 7 days of the result can also be filled. The vehicle can, on clearing a fitness test, is issued a certificate of fitness by which it can be